Man, Mr. Talicki's going to make me cry too. Now I'm all emotional before I even start. Well, nothing could be more symbolic of this school year than the April 20th senior mass being postponed due to a snowstorm. That's 2020, 2021 for you. I usually speak at this point in the Senior Awards Assembly for two reasons. First, because we're transitioning to the academic awards, and I'm the academic principal, so it's fitting for me to talk about what we've accomplished in the classroom. And second, because no one ever voted me graduation speaker, and to quote the movie Mean Girls, I just have a lot of feelings. I'm not going to talk about academics today, though, if that's all right. At the start of this school year, I told you, seniors, that this could end up being our finest moment as a school. I had a senior recently ask me if I thought that it was. So I'd like to ask you, what do you think? Take a moment to think back on this past year. Think back through the shock of fourth quarter being canceled last spring. Think about the uncertainty of wondering if school was going to be in person and when it might ever start. Think about the nerves and excitement, maybe fear that you felt when you walked through those doors the first time in September. Think about the constant wondering as each new event on the calendar approached, trying to guess if it would happen, and if so, how different it might be in reality to what you had imagined and dreamed of as a freshman and sophomore. How did you respond? Seniors, can you look back on each of these challenges and be proud of the choice you made? Of whether you put yourself or others first? Of whether you rose above the fear and disillusionment to embrace the responsibility placed on your shoulders? This year reminded us of something that has always been true. The cross is inescapable. To live means, in part, to suffer, at times greatly. And to be Christian means taking that suffering upon your shoulders willingly and walking forward one step at a time, often unsure exactly where you're going or how long it will take you to get there. One of the unexpected graces of this year has been to watch the faith and humility of those who have embraced their cross. I think especially of those who've lost loved ones this year, including some of our senior families. The passing of David Jones and Allison Smeltzer in particular stand out, given their long-standing commitment and support of St. James through the years. And of course, the loss of Samantha Branson, mother of senior Claire Branson, my colleague and friend, shook all of us. Not only to lose her, but to not get to grieve together, to not get to celebrate her life and impact in person last spring, was a heart-wrenching and confusing end to a tremendously difficult road for that beautiful woman. During Samantha's illness, I was blessed to have many conversations with her that I will always treasure. A conviction that she shared on more than one occasion with me was that God had led her to St. James precisely because he knew what she would have to suffer, and he wanted her here for that. What a strange belief. To believe that God knew she would suffer, and instead of stopping it or taking it away, he instead guided her life to a particular place for that suffering to occur. Seniors, this is the confounding, frustrating, beautiful mystery of the cross. The mystery that we have a God who does not remove suffering from human experience, does not make it impossible, or in many senses even easier, but instead chose to enter into it and experience it with us so that we would not be alone in our suffering, nor would we be hopeless. He suffered so that we could be confident our pain means something, that what is hardest for us now will be transformed and transfigured into the defining marks of the life of the redeemed. This is what my friend Samantha showed me, what her family taught me through their quiet, humble, and steady faith in the face of suffering. And it's what you, seniors, have showed to all of us in the way that you carried the crosses placed on your shoulders this year. If God moved Miss here, then that means he moved you here too. He saw what many of our families would have to bear, and he brought an army of his faithful together to hold a light for those who were to walk through the valley of the shadow of death. And he knew the immense difficulties we would face as a school over these 14 months. And he chose this group to lead us through it. When you had every excuse to be timid and withdrawn, you chose to be brave and outgoing. When you had every reason to complain and feel sorry for yourselves, you chose to be positive and encouraging. When it would have been so easy to just coast and focus on yourselves, you instead pushed harder to connect with each other and with your schoolmates. Now, I'm not saying we were perfect this year, because we weren't. But in a time when the obligation for Mass was removed, we've had more students than ever in the chapel at 8 o'clock. At a time when so many were isolated, so many of you found new ways to connect and go deep. And at a time when some schools weren't even in session, our students blazed a path forward through the fear and confusion and showed others that community matters and that faith is not mere pious sentiment, but rather the power of God alive in this world. So was this our finest moment as a school? You're damn right it was. And for that, I will never forget the class of 2021. Thank you for your leadership, and I can't wait to celebrate with each of you in the coming weeks. Thank you.